Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. So this week I told you it was C week, so brought to you by the letter C. And I want to make sure that we kind of go through some of these things, because I think for most of us is that when we think about ourselves, we don't usually think about ourselves in the best light, do we? We don't usually think about ourselves as competent. We just don't wake up and say, I'm feeling very competent today, do we? Or do we feel certain different things? We have clouds, some of us do. We have clouds, some of us do, on the hanging over our heads. We're a little Eeyore-ish that way. And I feel like if we make statements and start bringing in words that maybe we're not used to using all the time, we can see how they sort of fit into our lives, and we can start sliding them in, because it helps to build up the good parts of this of what we want to be focused on anyway. We all have flaws. We all have things that we have blind eyes to as well. That's unfortunately the way that all rolls. But when I look at when I look at myself, or I look at friends or different things, I see strengths, the strengths that I see. I can tell you, like, for example, with Marla, I'll tell you some of her strengths. She has a way to cut to the chase, and to really see and know. She said, hey, you should do this, or you should do, and she has accurately pinpointed things in my own business that I couldn't have seen before. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's genius. Thank you. I wasn't even looking at that. But that's what friends do. They reflect off of each other, and they say, hey, I see something here, or I see the potential for this or the potential for that. But that's how it works when we make a decision about our lives, that we are open and that we need and we want, for example, commitment, competency, cogent thinking. All of these things help to line us up and bring us into the place of hot desire for that, because this all leads to a vibrant life, and giving you the opportunity to start shifting a little bit on your thinking and adding some new things in, and maybe getting rid of a few things. That's why we're doing this week, because I think it's fabulous. And I think the word commitment quite often is just used flippantly. And I believe that being committed is something that's a daily thing. And any of you who have been married or that are married, and by the way, happy anniversary to, guess whose anniversary it is today? Who do you think? It's Jenny's! 17 years, Jenny? Isn't that how long you've been married? Anyway, congratulations and happy anniversary to Jenny. So what does that tell you? I mean, that's commitment right there. 17 years of marriage, 18 years of marriage. So what is that? That's commitment. That's a commitment. Even when, I'm going to tell you something, as much as we love Ian, and as much as we love Jenny, probably there's been a time or two when things haven't been so great that day. Can I just say, maybe? Even so, with a commitment, just because there's a little bit of stickiness, or there's a little rock and, a little whatever, what happens? The commitment is the thing that trumps the bad day. The commitment is the thing that trumps an argument or a disagreement. It's the commitment. And that commitment is the foundational principle of what keeps marriages together, what keeps friendships together, and what keeps any kind of relationship together. Really, your relationship with your kids. You're committed out of love, even when they do things that you don't want them to do. My son and I went through a really horrible period when, I would say, from about the time he was 15 to 19. So, do the math. It was a long time, and it was just, it broke me. It broke me. And this, again, this is a Marla. This is one of her ideas that I didn't think of. And she said, put a picture of him in your wallet of when he was really sweet and one of your pictures that you loved. And I had this one little picture of him, and he was wearing a little train shirt, and he had his little haircut and just smiling and cute, no tattoos, just sweet. And that was the little picture that I looked at when I prayed for him, because the condition of our relationship was so shaken that just thinking about it, I wasn't really liking him a whole lot. I loved him. It was his mother. But my commitment to him was to pray for him and to get that connection back somehow. And it happened. And I'm proud to tell you about that. But, when you're 100% in, playing full out, commitment goes through thick and thin. Commitment doesn't just do things because you want, commitment creates the necessity to do things that you don't want to do sometimes. Watch a gross action movie or, whatever it is. But every time that we think about what commitment is, we have to go back and look at how commitment changes the way that we do things. Commitment says, I'm going to show up and do it anyway. Commitment says that it's hard as heck right now, but my commitment is this. Commitment tells us what we're made out of. And commitment is everything. And when we're there, when we're playing full out, then we get to step into a deeper sense of ourselves. It is our higher self, because it's a commitment also that we've made to God when we are committed. Committed. And I think there's several things that need to go into this. And I'm going to go, just kind of walk through them a little bit for you. And one thing is that when we're doing something like this challenge, the Hot Melt 30, as you're going to find out about that, the Hot Melt 30 is a commitment to 30 days of sprinting and adding a few other things in there just so that you can get into the weeds of really what you're about. So that you can get in there and you can see that you are so much stronger than you think you are, that you have so much more strength than you think you do, that it's all there, that it's already there. And this is just kind of a tool to help show that. So one of the things that we're going to do in the Hot Melt 30, for example, is announce that we're in the Hot Melt 30. And you're going to see in the Hot Melt 30, in the Hot Melt Sprint group, people hashtagging Hot Melt 30. Why? Because they're showing up, because that's part of the whole thing. They're being accountable. And that's the whole thing. You announce and you account. Those two things. Because when we're doing that, we're underscoring a commitment. We're underscoring where it is that we fit on that continuum, that we're making a choice to be committed and to go all the way. And when we're doing that, now we've got people looking at us and saying, okay, you're a part of that. Darla just said commitment trumps fleeting feelings. It absolutely does. And fleeting feelings happen to us, not just in relationships, but they happen to us with our workout commitment. I mean, that's an easy one, right? Or how we've committed to eating. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? I mean, you could just kind of go up there and just look at the peanut butter in the refrigerator and go, that wouldn't be so bad. But is that part of your commitment? Is it, detouring away from your commitment? It sure it is. Sure is. And then the other thing about commitment is that you are walking your talk. You're not just talking about it. You have to. Otherwise, the commitment is nothing. The commitment means zero. Commitment always walks its talk. The other thing is, number 4, I guess this is that when we're committed, we need to expect that excellence is going to show up, because we're going to do things excellently. Now, we know that perfection isn't on this side of glory. We know that. A lot of us still struggle with all of that nonsense and what have you, but we don't have to go there ever, do we? Because perfection is not, it's going to paralyze us. But when we expect excellence, we're saying we have an expectation of ourselves. Nothing wrong with that. Excellence doesn't mean perfect. Excellence means doing your very best, right? And that's always going to take you where you want to go. And the last one is, second to the last one is keep your promises to yourself by signing a commitment contract. We have the commitment contract as an unannounced bonus coming with the Hot Melt 30. When you're committed, you're signing contract. That's how you buy houses and cars. When you're committed, you do things, you do certain things, and you perform your end of the contract, your end of the deal. And when you sign a commitment contract, what you're saying is, I'm all in. What you're saying is, I'm worth it. What you're saying is, I am not going to allow these feelings of not wanting to do something to get in the way. I'm going to stand my ground and do my thing. Boom. There you go. And then the last one is that with commitment, we persist. We don't resist this whole idea and say, I just don't, oh no, it's too hard. We don't do that. We just dig in, and that's not perfect. That's just, you know what that is? It's just persistency. And have you noticed that when you are persistent and you're consistent, another C word, what does that get you? Results. And that's what we're about. So committed, you're 100% in, and you're playing full out. Pinkies up. That's what I say about that one. I love being committed. It just makes it easy. And when you're 100% committed, it's easier than being 95% committed, because then you're not getting exhausted with all this mental fatigue and trying to figure out, should I, shouldn't I, shouldn't I? It's just, this is what it is. And we're done. Ta-da. It's easy. All right. The second one is competent. And this harkens back to the thing that I said before, you are stronger than you think. You are competent. You get it. You've got it. You're not just flailing around on this earth thing saying, oh, I just can't. That's not true. You can. You have everything inside of you already to figure this thing out. And everything is always figure outable. We know that, right? But the other thing is that you have Professor Google at your fingertips. You have access to everything that you need to know, to understand, and to grow. Everything. It's all there. And do you know that a lot of the great classic books you can even download from the internet? You can listen to books if you want. I have an Audible. There you go, Juanita. I have an Audible subscription, and it's one of my favorite things. I have a bunch of books that I listen to. I have subscriptions to all these different things that all help me to do better. And this keeps you competent. It keeps you competent because you feel like, yes, I know what my next step is. And the other thing is that we have a tendency, and you know this, to have these like subtle put downs in your head. Oh, well, I can't do that. That's too hard. Oh, the answer to that is, I know what I am confident and competent. I can do this. I am capable. I am able. Yes, I am. Yes, I can do this. Because when you decide that you can do something, and when you make that decision in your head, something changes. You're shifting, recalibrating and going a different direction. And that makes all the difference in the world. And then the other thing about that I believe that is part of the whole competency equation, if you will, is that you're always learning. What does that mean? Well, you're learning new skills. You're reading constantly, or you're listening to books, or you're finding something. I've got in my little planner here, I have some stuff that I've copied off of transcripts that I have from a video, because I hate watching videos. It's just sitting there for 45 minutes watching a video. No, just transcribe it for me. And then I go through and I read them, and I'm an active reader. That's what my skills are. One of my goals is I'm an active reader. Active reading means that you're in it, you're learning, and you're applying all of those things. This keeps competency, top of mind and top of skill set as well. And the third one is a little different, is cogency. Now you've heard of making a cogent argument, and that just means that is surmising that the argument that you're making, and I could ask our lawyer here, Sarah, but that's surmising that the argument that you're making is well thought out, researched, and it has deductive and inductive reasoning in it, so that you can figure out exactly what the heck is going on with everything, right? That's exactly what it is. So you've heard the term a cogent argument. So it means that you're convincing, you're believable, you've got your facts straight. And it's by virtue of that clear presentation or even an objective that you're trying to accomplish. Like, you could say, I'm cogent. I made an argument for myself on why I'm going to crush this hot milk 30, whatever it is that you want to. But it's telling, it's relevant, and it's pertinent to all that's inside of you that wants to give it your best shot. Cogency helps us to do that because it's clarity, really, isn't it? Combined with a deep knowing and a deep understanding. That's what it is. And that's what our mind is really set on that. And also I wrote this out, that Cogent allows for a new way, different tactics. Because here's the thing, when you are operating from a place of cogency, you're also looking and evaluating all the time and saying, hey, this little tactic or whatever that I thought was so great, not working. Gotta go. That is just not, this is not something that needs to be in the lineup here. It's gotta go. Pluck it out like a weed, take it out. It's no good. So when we understand this, that cogency, that this whole thing uses logic and reason. Things are laid out and this is what it is. There's no argument there. You almost can't argue against it. This is when you know that you've got, you've made a really good argument. You made it really together. So we have tools for that, right? The experience file to me is one of the best tools that you can have in your back pocket. Pull out the experience file when needed. Now, the experience file, for anybody who doesn't understand what it is when you have like an old memory, an old tape, or something that you just keep spinning over and over and over again in your head and reliving, or, you're telling yourself, I don't know, whatever awful stuff that you are. The thing that we need to do with the experience file is look at the lesson that can be learned and pull that out. That's the experience that we want to keep. And the rest of it, that needs to go. Because there's always a lesson, like maybe I needed to listen more. Maybe I needed to do, I should have researched this more thoroughly. Maybe I needed to do whatever it is. We all have something where we look back and go, oh, what was that all about? And instead of going through the whole thing all over and over again, which is, by the way, mentally exhausting and also takes you off focus for the things that you really want, we just pull the experience out. That's what we call the experience file. And it's a good thing to have. It's a reference place. That's all we need. So we have the experience file. We also have communication, right? We have communication. What can we use for communication? We can write an email. We can send a card. We can say something. I have as my goal, one of my goals I'm an active reader and I invest my heart, mind, and soul into my relationships. I shared this on Saturday. And so today, one of the things I asked Mark to do for my birthday is acts of service are just big deal for me. He put up a little rack that has all my little bands on it I have this itsy bitsy gym. And then he also put together a weight rack for all my weights. As I've graduated and gotten heavier, they were all over the floor and there's just not enough room for that. So I got my rack and he put it all together. And then we got busy and everything. And it just dawned on me today, he did this for me. And I said, hey, honey. And he said, yeah. And I said, I just wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate that you put that rack up on the wall and that you, put my weight thing together. I just really appreciate that. Now it was a gift, of course. And, he came over to me and he gave me a big hug and a kiss. And he said, I just appreciate that you're the type of woman that you are. Who knew, right? How about that? You see how that just fed? That was a connection. That was a relationship builder right there. And it was because I wrote this out this morning. It was a reminder. This is who I am and this is who I need to be. And your communication skills need to speak up. Sometimes not so pretty in this kind of a thing. Maybe it's not a relationship builder. Maybe it's something to clarify something. Maybe you have to say something to your doctor, step up and say something. I'm not really pleased with the way we're going with this whole thing. I brought these things in and you're not listening to me. Or saying to your spouse, hey, It's never okay to raise your voice to me, in a kind way. But whatever it is, you have a voice in your life. And that's what cogency is. That means that you have a logical, good, sound, intellectual, smart voice in your life that needs to be heard. You weren't put here on this on this earth to sit cowering in a corner and not saying anything. Sometimes, and there's always the times when someone just doesn't want to hear what you have to say. That doesn't mean you shut up. That means you still speak your truth. We have to. That's what this is about, And then there's strong critical thinking involved. Take a look at what the situation is. Deconstruct it, reverse engineer it, whatever it is that you need to do. But for heaven's sakes, connect the dots. One of my pet peeves is I hate the isms. Two isms that I really despise right now is ageism. By the way, amen to that, ladies. Come on. And I also the sexism in the way that we speak about people and the way we think that, oh, well, women are just so much more emotional. Oh, well, women don't think like that. Women aren't logical. Baloney. We all are. We are human beings, and we all have certain strengths in communication. Maybe we aren't as logical as we maybe need to be because we have stepped out of this crazy making thing that we have going on. But you know what? It doesn't need to be that way. It just really doesn't. Because when we step into this strong connection to competency, which is what this is, and we're cogent in our arguments, then we're just bring out the evidence to support the things that you want and the things that you need to speak about. No one should ever be cowering in the corner, afraid to speak up for themselves, ever, And you know what? Sometimes people want to hear it. Sometimes they don't. I get that. But the fact is that we don't cower. Cowering's just wrong. Cowering, what does that say? What does that say? When we cower, it's saying that we have no power. When we cower and we walk away and we're biting our tongues, and listen, there's time to bite the tongue, right? But there's a time to speak up. That's having a voice in your life. And having a voice in your life is everything because it allows you to be committed. I have a voice in my life. I'm committed to this thing. You spoke up for this commitment. You laid it out. You've got a community who's a witness to this whole thing. And your competency shows up because you're showing up. It's true. Just do it. Maybe you feel a little sketchy. Maybe you feel a little inexperienced, but that doesn't mean you're incompetent. Just show up. Just do. And become the woman that you're supposed to be. That's how we do it. And then the last thing is being cogent. Logic is part of the brain's experience. It's not just for men or a few smart women out there or whatever. We all have these abilities. We just need to develop them. And we need to stand the course because the course is what's going to take us from the start to finish. And man, I don't know about you, but when I'm dead and buried and seeing God up there, St. Peter at the gate, I don't know how that whole thing's going to work, honestly. I haven't spent a whole lot of time worrying about the details. But when I get there, I'm going to just say, hey, God, I left it all out on the dance floor, all of it. Because I want to hear good, well done, my good and faithful servant. How do you do that? You can't do that by bearing your talents. You do it by being a part of. Have a voice. Have a voice. No more cowering. No more being small. No more saying I can't. No more incompetency. You have competence galore. Everything is inside of you. It's time to step into the life you want to lead. You can't do it. You can't get vibrancy just simply by sitting there by the sidelines with your arms folded and not saying a word. It doesn't happen like that. It happens because you create it and you make it happen. So, as the creator of your own life, there's only one thing you can do. Commit. Commit. It's time to step into that vibrant life. You've got one and only life to live. On my my little calendar thing of the day, it says, decide you're unavailable to live your one and only life, treating your dreams like they're not as important as your fears. Your dreams, that they're not as important as your fears. Demand of yourself that you figure it out and make it happen. That's the whole thing, because what you focus on expands. What you dwell upon becomes your destiny. So if you're not going to focus on your dreams, but instead focus on your fears, that's the thing that you've given importance to, are your fears. And I say, no, not on my watch. It's time to step up into this glorious, vibrant life. That's all yours. It's there for the asking. It's your one and only life. It's your one shot. So what are you going to do? Anyway, I love you guys tremendously. I hope you're here for C Week. Today was commitment, competency, and cogent. You're the best. I appreciate you all. Amen, Sarah. She says, my fears will not be my destiny. Absolutely not. They might be bumps in the road or obstacles right now or whatever, but you have the power to get over them. You do. If they're there, they're yours and yours alone to conquer. We all have a massive ability inside of us that we haven't even tapped yet, haven't even begun to tap yet. Peace be with you. I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.